Good morning, Victory Heights Primary School, and welcome to episode 4 of WYS, What's Your Story? And look who we've got with us today. Good morning, Doran Davies. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very excited to find out about your story on my series, WYS, WYS, because I've been interviewing some really interesting characters because I like to hear about people's journeys. And at the moment, obviously, we can't get visitors into school to sort of share interesting facts or share information about their careers and their interests and how they made that into their jobs. So that's the purpose, and then it goes across the school, and the kids are obviously hopefully inspired by different personalities and a range of different skills. So let's go back to your schooling. What were you like at school, Doran?
Oh, geez, that is a good question. I have to have a long memory for that one. It was quite a number of years ago when I was at school. What was I like at school?
Which subjects did you like?
I went to school in the UK. So in my early stages of school, I was in a place called Birmingham, which is a big city in the centre of England. And then the family moved to Wales to live by the beach in a city called Swansea. Now, I studied at school lots of subjects. You know, I did GCSEs like everyone else, and then I went through A levels, and then I went to university as well. And I have to say, I enjoyed all of my subjects, but especially I loved maths and I loved the sciences as well, because I think there's something really elegant around maths in the fact that you've got a complicated problem and you can solve it, and there is always a method that you follow to solve a problem. So no matter how complicated the sum may look, there is always a process and a method that you follow to get to the result. And I used to love that about maths and science.
What subject did you do at university, Doran?
I studied engineering. So it's a bit of a mouthful. I did manufacturing engineering with business management and French. Donc, je parle bien français.
Oh, guys, now, this is also an interesting journey, guys, because obviously our year sixes are about to leap into secondary school, and when they get to around about year 9, they start to choose their subjects, and then basically you start to kind of whittle down what your interests are. And we've been learning about different courses that obviously we don't do yet at primary, or the children aren't exposed to. So the last episode we had Dr. Louise, she was talking about psychology. So engineering. Would the kids' experience in STEAM be relative to engineering, you know, in terms of science, maths, kind of those sort of design thinking skills? Is that something that they could relate to?
Absolutely. And a big shout out to Ella and Barney, by the way. I promised I wouldn't say anything embarrassing about them on this interview. So just a hello. But yeah, I love the fact that the children are learning STEAM, because I think it's really, really important, because it gives you the skills to think creatively and solve problems. And that is like gold dust. It's invaluable. So yeah, definitely engineering, STEAM is definitely an area where you can really breed creativity, you know, encourage problem solving.
So, and again, those are absolutely key skills that we try to endorse in all subjects, but giving children opportunity where it is project based, so there's not actually a correct answer. So like you said, for maths is a nice kind of secure subject because there is a right answer, but also having the opportunity where, you know, who knows what the right answer is. So even in art, you know, who knows if that's a perfect painting, etc., because it's up to your own interpretation. So let's fast forward. What do you do now, Doran? What's your title? Where I can relate to where you are. It looks similar. I've said to you before, I need lazy boy chairs in that area. What's your title and what do you do now?
Well, my title is pretty boring, actually, but what I do is very exciting. So my title is, well, I call it co-founder and CEO, so Chief Executive Officer for Bounce Middle East.
CEO. Okay,
CEO.
Okay. That means you're in charge, is it?
Yeah. So my kids will say I'm the boss, but I don't like using the word boss because it kind of sometimes describes people that just tell other people what to do, and that's not what life or business is about. It's about encouraging the people that work for you to deliver amazing results, and that's my job. My job is to get the best out of the team. And to enrich and develop themselves. So I'm not going to be here forever, right? So my job is to make sure that there is another CEO in waiting that is skilled and inspired and motivated to take my job.
Don't keep them waiting. CEO and co-founder of what, Doran?
Bounce. Have you heard of Bounce before? I know you have, because I've seen some of your skills in that little tutu that you were wearing when you came here a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we had a great day there, one of our World Book Day. Guys, how many of you have been to Bounce? Yeah? Oh my gosh, such good exercise. So let me repeat that question for you. So how did you get to be CEO and co-founder of Bounce? You said mobile phones?
Yeah, I was in the mobile phone business for about 12, kind of 13 years. I'd worked for big businesses and I'd worked for startup businesses. And a startup business is normally a small business that starts with a little idea and then builds and builds and builds. And I love being in a startup business. You know, there is something about it that really gives you a lot of energy, that gives you a lot of passion as well. And my first job in mobile phones was in a startup business, where my first day at work was going to the airport in London Heathrow and flying out to China to visit a load of factories. I didn't know anything about mobile phones, so it was really a case of being thrown in at the deep end and figuring it out as you go along. But I love that. I love the excitement that goes around with that. Now, I moved to Dubai back in 2012 with HTC. That was the reason why I moved over here. And the reason why I started Bounce was probably a little bit of luck, really. I was probably in the right place at the right time, where I met a guy called Ross, who is now my business partner. And one day at a barbecue at my house, he pulls out his mobile phone and shows me a video of this crazy place called Bounce in Australia, where he was showing me videos of teenagers, kids, adults doing some amazing tricks and amazing things on trampolines, lots of smiles on people's faces. And he turned around to me and said, I'm going to do this. Do you want to do it with me? Because I love startup businesses and because I really liked the idea of it, it reminded me of a job that I had in Swansea when I was a teenager. I used to work in an ice cream parlor as a teenager. And it was not about having a job and earning money. For me, it was about a social experience. It was about putting smiles on people's faces. It was about doing something that had a strong sense of purpose, which is getting people active. And I was really bought into that, and I was really inspired by that. And the answer to do you want to do it with me was a yes, which instantly made my wife age about 10 years overnight.
And guys, this is a really important message. I know that when we were 5, Victory Heights was 5, I was telling the children that were in the assembly then the story about how Victory Heights started. And I happened to just be in a conversation with my cousin who knew our CEO, who was looking for a principal to start up a school here in Dubai, and they worked together here, and then we shared numbers. So like I've always said to you guys, conversations and connecting with different people is really, really important, and also really inspiring, because you don't know where that journey's going to go. So the fact that Doran was there with his mate Ross having a barbecue, and then fast forward to see what happens. So many opportunities can come about. So your social skills, your relations with other people, and this is why we focus so much at BH about Oracy, and being genuinely in the moment, talking to people and finding out. These stories can lead to to magical places and can change your life, actually. I've got a few questions to ask you about. You've mentioned some key things that I feel as a principal, and I want the kids to know about in terms of, purpose in terms of business, and for them to take that. But we've got Carl and Annabelle in the studio with us here, Doran, who, as
Hello.
our head boy and head girl, and representing the student voice. As you know, Ella is also part of our student cabinet here, who have got some questions, because having your own business, especially at the moment and over the last year, Crumbs, when I was thinking back to I had left my house in 27 days this time last year. It's been tricky, hasn't it? And being in different businesses, hospitality or sporting or events or etc. Or entertainment has been tricky. But anyway, let me get these guys. Welcome, Annabelle. Welcome, Carl. Good morning. How are you guys today?
Good, thank you.
Good. Oh, you need to do something with your sound, otherwise the producer will start going bonkers. Sort it out. Have you been to Bounce, Carl?
Yeah, I've been to Bounce quite a lot of times, and it's been a great experience.
Oh, Annabelle, have you been bouncing around?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know any tricks? Can you do any tricks? I bet you can.
Too many, but...
All right. Well, we'll teach you. Don't worry about that. Next time you come, we'll teach you some tricks.
All right, so that we can sort out the feedback as well, and then Annabelle can turn on her mic. Carl, you've got an interesting question, and again, it relates to strength, because not every day is a good day, and like I said, the last year has been tricky, and the people weren't able to go to Bounce. Then what happens to the team at Bounce, etc., and their livelihood. So over to you, Carl.
How has COVID affected Bounce?
Wow. Okay. It has affected us a lot. And it's affected all of us, including you, Carl, as well. I cast my mind back to March last year. And, this period is ever ingrained in my brain now. And I kind of describe COVID and 2020 as a year to remember and a year to forget at the same time. Okay. There are some very important lessons learned in 2020. But I remember in March last year when there was this virus happening in China. It was the other side of the world. And we were kind of seeing it on the news, but didn't really know how it was affecting us. It was a long way away. It was out of sight, out of mind. But then over a very quick period, it started to become something that we needed to take very, very seriously. And there was a time in the early part of March where things like school trips were cancelled. We bring a lot of school trips to Bounce. We've welcomed hundreds of thousands of school kids to Bounce across the entire region. And then overnight, just like that, school trips were cancelled, which meant that our footfall, which is the number of customers that come through our venue, went down immediately. And then there was another announcement, and you will all remember this. The announcement was when the government said, right now, your Easter holidays are going to be coming forward by 2 weeks, but then you're not going to go back to school after those Easter holidays. And our business took a massive impact when that announcement happened. And I remember in Abu Dhabi, the number of customers that came through our door from 1 week to the next went down by 75%. 75%. So then it was, well, we've got to get prepared here. So it wasn't a case of let's close our eyes and ignore it happening. We got prepared. So we sat around a table with the team and then started to map out what would be the worst case scenario for our business. And what would we do in that worst case scenario? And that was what happens if the venues closed.
Yeah.
So we put a plan down, and I'm really glad that we did that because it's in black and white. It's on a piece of paper, and our venues all across the region, and that's 10 venues across the region, all closed within a period of 1 week. Okay. Now, because we were prepared and we had that piece of paper, You know, there was nothing whiz bang about it. It was just a piece of paper with a plan on there. It meant that we didn't panic because we knew what we needed to know, or we knew what we needed to do. And that was start to shut down the venues, start to make sure that we were contacting customers who maybe had birthday parties booked or had bookings with us, and just deliver the news that we wouldn't be operating for a period of time. So we did that. And then the next priority was, what do we do with our team? Okay. Because we're in business to inspire people and make sure people have a great time, but we're also in business to make money. So we can pay rents on our buildings and pay salaries to our employees as well. So the next priority was very much, how do we treat our team and how do we support our team during the closure period? And it was a very difficult thing to figure out because we did not know how long we would be closed for. And right now, I'm still closed in Qatar, as an example. Since March last year, I've only been open for 3 weeks. So that's a huge, huge impact on the team. So the priority was very much supporting the team and making sure that we're paying them salaries so they can pay their rents, they can put food on the table as well. And so we operated by a set of principles, which were all about keeping the promises that we can keep, which sounds very simple, but it's not an easy thing to do when times are very unpredictable. And we would also focus on the areas that we can control. You know, we can't control the virus, so why worry about it? You know I've got a bit of gray hair in my beard now, but I was very much encouraging the team to focus on the areas that they can control as opposed to worrying about things that they can't control. And that's
Doran,
really important.
Yeah, the one thing that, and the cabinet, as well as Carl and Annabelle, are fantastic ambassadors of is our Ellie animals, and we've talked about that all the time that we've been open at Victory Heights, and these are lifelong learning skills about the chameleon and being sort of adaptable. And at the moment we're looking at the cat and asking questions, quite curious questions, and talking to you is highlighting that. But thinking about the kind of lifelong learning skill that you have really had to focus on over the last year, which again, talking about subjects, is not something that we go into school and there's a textbook, right? Or that we can Google almost. And again, the point of these chats is to give these kids, these wonderful children here at Victory Heights, some of these sort of reality checks on our lifelong learning skills, so that the amazing question that Carl's asked is, what kind of lifelong learning skill have you had to focus on? Because we'd like to all make sure that every day is a really happy day and we all go skipping, but it doesn't always work like that. And we at Victory Heights do, we're realistic. We want to prepare our kids for the bad days, and they're going to have to focus on these skills. So, hopefully, inshallah, as they say, we're coming towards the end of this, and we've got some light at the end of the tunnel. But what lifelong learning skill, Doran, have you really had to brush up on or had to rely on to keep, you positive to make sure that you've motivated your team?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think the skills that you are all learning at school will equip you to deal with these situations in the future. So while at school, you may not be learning about, how do I deal with a pandemic in a business environment? What school and the tools you learn is teaching you to do is have confidence in your own ability to manage and deal with unpredictable situations. I remember one of our team, Sammy, actually is one of our sales. He's in our sales team. He came to me saying, boss, what do we do? You must have been through this before. How are we going to deal with this? I said, Sammy, sorry, mate, I haven't been through this before. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do, but we are going to focus on supporting each other, first of all. and we will get through this. So I think the really important life lesson that I've learned is that while there may not be a textbook with a step 1, 2, 3 on how to deal with a situation, I'm confident, and you should all be confident with what you're learning at school will equip you to deal with unpredictable situations and have the confidence to deal with those situations, because they will happen. They will happen. And, you know, don't panic. You know, life goes on. You get through these things.
Carl, what kind of opportunities at Victory Heights do we give you, or what subjects or lessons where you know, like there's no real right answer? What kind of experiences here do you feel where you have to be confident and have belief? What is it? Sport? Is it STEAM? What kind of subjects? Is it art where, you know, you've really got to kind of be confident?
Probably like STEAM art, because in art, no matter what you do, it doesn't actually, like, it's not right or wrong, it's just what you can do. And with STEAM, it's kind of just like finding out what would help, not like yes or no.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks,
Brilliant.
Carl. Okay, Annabelle, sort your sound out. Over to you now. Annabelle, now, you've got quite a practical question, but I know that when, you know, in order for all of us to be safe, like you said, Doran, I mean, as if I did a module on social distancing when I went to university to reopen the school in September. Like, no, missed that module.
That's right.
Annabelle, over to you. Annabelle, are you there? Bye, Carl. See you later, mate. Annabelle. There she is. Can't hear you, love. Click your button. Oh, my gosh. Go, Annabelle.
So my question...
Oh, I think Carl has to put himself on mute.
Yes, there we go. You all right now, Annabelle?
Yeah, so my question is, how do you sanitize the trampoline park for COVID safety, and how often do you do it?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question, Annabelle. Thank you. Look, all the time, all the time. Yeah, we've got quite a process here, and a very strict set of rules as well. But I mean, the first thing to note, our trampoline parks are huge. The venue that perhaps you've been to in Alcors is our smallest venue in the region. So it's almost like being outside, but you're inside. So it's actually very difficult to keep people apart. You know, when kids are very excited and running around, you know, the last thing on their mind is keeping a 2-meter social distance, right? It's difficult to do that. And I'm sure that's pretty challenging in a school. But when I look at it, we've actually built the venue with social distancing in mind. You may remember when you've come to Bounce, there's a simple set of rules. And one of those rules is 1 person per trampoline, right? Yeah. Now, when you follow that rule of 1 person per trampoline, you are actually more than 2 meters apart from the other person. Okay, so you're already distant from that other individual. And then in other areas of the venue, we'd have lots of stickers on the floor to make people think and give them those visual prompts that they should always be 2 meters apart. We've also changed the tables around in our tuck shop to make sure that they're very well spaced and apart from each other as well. But then you're asking about sanitization. That's a big word, right? That's a good word. So we sanitize a lot. So you'll see around the venue lots of stations where we have hand sanitizers, even though when you come to Bounce, you jump with your feet, not your hands. But we still have lots of hand sanitizer stations around. And then throughout the day, every single hour, we have our cleaning team that comes out with these big kind of cleaning kind of bazooka style guns, and they spray disinfectant around all of the areas and mop down the trampoline. So we do a lot of work.
What about all those spongy bits in the pit? How do you keep those clean?
You're thinking of that second-rate competitor of ours, Miss Sasha. We don't have the spongy pit, because that's a dirty and grimy thing to have. We have a big inflatable airbag.
That's the thing I was thinking about. You see, don't go to Bounce, kids, because it's the most hygienic indoor trampoline park ever. Yeah,
That's
good.
Right.
It was a double-edged question, that. I wanted to make sure that we at Victory Heights support bounce. Did I say bounce? Annabelle, I mean, crumbs, who would have known? How many times have you said the word sanitize over the last year? Annabelle, historically, when this is all over, what will you still do or remember, or will you take with you in terms of social distancing, sanitizing, hand washing, I don't know, sitting separately at a restaurant? I'm all right with that. I don't want to sit next to somebody that close. I'm all right with that kind of table issue. I want them to get away and don't listen to my conversation. I'm over here. I'm paying for the meal. Get out, you nosy Parker. Off you go. Annabelle, what part of COVID protocols will you take with you going forward?
I would take forward the hand washing and sanitizing, definitely. So I continue doing all that with the correct hand movement, so my entire hands are washed or sanitized. And I also wouldn't mind taking the 2-meter distance for some people. If you're in a restaurant or something and they're strangers and you don't know them, a bit of distance wouldn't do
I'm with you. Get away. If somebody sits next to me on a bus or a train, I'm like, can you go and sit over there, please? Get away. Annabelle, great question. Thanks very much for joining us in our studio. Well done for your technical abilities. Thanks very much. See you soon. Right, back to me. Doran, just finally then, I've learned some of these things definitely over the last year. And also, like you said, being quite sort of having to be quite decisive, not just during the last year, but with my role at Victory Heights. And it's something, again, I want the children to kind of think and value in terms of a lifelong learning lesson. And you touched on this at the beginning when you talked about, about members of teams, etc. What advice would you give the children regarding success?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think success means very different things to different people. One measure of success for one individual can be very different to another individual, and that's okay. That's okay. I live by life by gauging my success on not money and material things. I gauge my success on how I'm changing people's lives, and that's genuinely how I motivate myself. And I look at my kids, Ella and Barney, and they're one of the main reasons why I do what I do. But if I was to give some advice to the kids at Victory Heights, I would say work hard first of all. Put the effort into learning. Your learning will continue throughout your life. I learn new things every single day, and I take advice from people every single day. But work hard, because the rewards will follow. They will follow. It's as simple as that. Don't live your life by expecting things to happen, because they won't. You have to go after opportunities and make opportunities happen. And they happen through hard work, energy, and perseverance. But success is such a personal thing to an individual. And I'd encourage you all to think about what would success look like for me? What's important to me? What do I love doing? Because if you do what you love, it's not a job. You do it because you enjoy doing it, and that's really, really important. Have a very strong sense of purpose and understand why you do what you do. Because if you don't love your job and if you don't love what you do, it's tough out there. So find something that you're good at, find something that you love to do, and go for it.
Doran, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. And what's resonated with me, which again is at the heart of what we do as a school, and especially the year sixes, I want them to take, and for all of us really, is that it is believing in yourself, you know, and having that confidence. You've talked about confidence, you've talked about purpose, and again, all of the people that I've interviewed so far, I feel that they've been successful because they've considered happiness over money, and also, you know, considering others and being a team player, and thinking about the people around you, how you treat those people, like you said, through difficult times, you know, how you value them is so important, because it's not just all about you, is it? And that's something we all need to consider, is complimenting, recognizing, whether it's Sammy, whether it's, you know, the ladies or the gentlemen who are helping blast the sanitizers, you know, through good times as well as bad, that we value people, appreciate them, compliment them, recognize them. And one thing I always say is, like, be in the moment, you know, so that we can just, you know, have a sense of purpose. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I look forward to collecting more socks at Bounce. And if you guys haven't been for a while, you know, Bounce is such a fantastic way to expel some energy, to keep fit, and especially because we live in Dubai, what a sensible plan, what a sensible conversation Ross and Doran had, because, you know, a lot of the time, and you can feel the temperature getting up here, and you guys need to still exercise, but in this heat, what's better than going to an indoor trampoline park? So get going, book your place at Bounce, get some energy, get your mum and dad or whoever to enjoy a bit of peace and social distancing in the cafe. I know
with you. Jump with mum and dad. You know, mum and dad can jump around as well. Yeah.
No. I've got dodgy knees, Doran. Dodgy knees. Cruciate ligament. I use it to have a bit of peace that time. Off you go. Off you go, kids. I ain't bouncing. Not at my age. I'm nearly 50. I know you won't believe it. Thank you so much. God bless you. Yeah, guys, I hope to see you and your bouncing antics very soon. Success, happiness, purpose. Take care, everyone.
See you later. Bye-bye, everyone.